I've been asked to introduce Mumbi Mugo. Mumbi Mugo, as she said when I asked her what to say about her, she said, well, you're my uncle, so you should know everything you need to know about her. Well, I am going to take the privilege of being her uncle. Because first, her name bears a great responsibility. Anyone who knows East Africa, if you name your child Mumbi from Kenya, and all Kenyans are from the house of Mumbi, so we already see the responsibility that's placed on her. Mumbi Mugo. Now, Mumbi Githae, Mumbi Mugo tells us about already different strands of life of Micere Mugo and her earthly journey. This journey, Mumbi continues on the path. We in central New York grew and worked with Mumbi for the past 35 years. And Mumbi has matured from Micere's child to a grown woman holding her own in political community struggles in central New York. As you saw in the documentary by Professor Durango, that from the time she was a child, she was introduced to struggles in Kenya. And we saw their mother showing her this child that is not yet in primary school confronting police persons, so that her life was one that is embedded in political struggles. So her life, she did not have what would be called a normal childhood. It was a childhood of movement, of adjustment, of drawing from deep spiritual strength, going to primary schools in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, then going to high school in North America, coming from the heat of Zimbabwe to the snow of Canton, New York, and then to Ithaca, and then to Syracuse, and to be able to navigate all that with her sister Jerry. And that kind of navigation either breaks you or strengthens you. And I think that in the case of Mumbi, we could see that strength. In Syracuse, she graduated and went on to the university and did exceedingly well, and followed the path of becoming a leader of the African Students Union at a crucial time in Syracuse University in the life of the students. And going on to do graduate degrees and graduate certificates and becoming a professional person in our own rights. And so we say in East Africa, to be nafs in East Africa. And so Mumbi joined the corporate world, but she never had the opportunity to be a corporate citizen, devoid of the work that was necessary within the life of the black community, either here in Kenya or the wider global Africa. For the past 15 years, however, Mumbi's life has been dominated by being a caregiver. And being a caregiver meant that she had to manage her time as someone who was in corporate world and dealing with that monster that her mother was open about. In 2012, Mumbi and Micere lost their lifetime companion, Jerry, and we continue to mourn Jerry in Syracuse, and Micere retired from the department in 2015, and we worked together with the family to host and to bring to life the life of Micere. But since that time, Mumbi had to to wear many hats. She was a community worker, community activist in the Pan-African community of Central New York, and being a professional worker, and then in the last 10 years working with Micere to make sure Micere would live in dignity. And this living in dignity with multiple myeloma was not an easy task. You can think of what it would be like to live like that during the COVID and to be able to try to stay alive during COVID. So Mumbi at that time could not maintain her job as in the corporate world and be a caregiver. And so Mumbi opted, as anyone who's a caring person would, to be a full-time companion, caregiver, daughter of our beloved sister, Micere. And she continued the tradition of Sister Micere in ensuring that this monster that she was facing, we collectively understood what she was going through. And the communication that would come from Mumbi and from the family told us that there was an understanding about the relationship between the personal, the political, feminism, and community health. We lost Micere, and Mumbi was vigilant in the working with the medical staff in the passing and the transition of our dear sister Micere. It was then that Mumbi was even tested further, because here the challenge of being a Githae and a Mugo presented itself once more, because she had to navigate the family politics, given the nature of the politics of Kenya. And I think you're still navigating them because they're never over. And so we want to salute you in public, because the work that you've done with our beloved sister and the work you continue to do. So Micere's work, and Durango has done a part of that work, but couldn't be done without Mumbi. And Mumbi has the task now of being an archivist, and she is doing this work at the present moment, archiving the work. We now have the Micere Mugo Foundation, and you can see that the foundation has its work cut out for itself. So with those few words, let me welcome our sister and our daughter and our niece, Mumbi Mugo.
Wow, Durango, I have my own biographer. Seriously, Durango, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. Those words were really moving. And, you know, I knew when I said speak as my uncle, I thought you were just going to be very brief, but that was just very nice.
Uncles
So allow me to begin by thanking, and I'm reading from notes, so I apologize, but allow me to begin by thanking the Center for Gender in Global Context, the Department of English, the Department of African American and African Studies, the African Studies Center, the Alliance for African Partnership, the Department of African American Studies at Syracuse University, and anyone else who I may inadvertently leave out. I apologize. Thank you for this very moving symposium in honor of my mother. Now, Dr. Zulu made it clear that I only had 5 to 7 minutes in which to give my remarks. And to those of you who heard my mother speak often, you'll remember her favorite joke of a professor who's asked to give a few remarks, goes on for hours, and at the end, there's one person in the audience, and the professor looks out to that young man and says, "Thank you so much for staying until the end." And the young man fidgets, looks up at the professor and says, "I'm from Media Services, and I was waiting to collect my microphone." So with that, I promise I will not keep you for 2 hours. Over the past 10 months since my mother's passing, I have spent time ensuring that I'm present at any venue where brothers and sisters are gathered in remembrance of my beloved mother. In fact, I stand here, or sit here rather, before you because my brother Dirango Wachanga mentioned months ago that he was going to be here today, and I promised to come and support him. Immediately bought my ticket and made hotel arrangements. Acutely aware of the fact that I'm amongst highly esteemed intellectuals, I'm deeply thankful to you all for allowing an imposter such as myself to share this space with you today in remembrance and honor of my mother. Dr. Horace Campbell mentioned the Pan-African Community of Central New York, PACNY, a community organization that my mother was a founding member, and one of the beautiful traditions that she began and that remains with us today is that of addressing each other as brother and sister. And so in our PACNY meetings, my Uncle Horace becomes Brother Horace. So while she was mom to my sister and I at home, she has always been sister when we're in these gatherings, and I will therefore refer to her in this way as I continue. I begin by thanking Dr. Zulu for reminding us of our sister's role in building bridges of interconnectedness between the disciplines of panelists here today. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for naming yourself, informing us of who you are, and in so doing, reminding us of ways in which our sister named and defined herself as illustrated in Who is Micere Mugo, the video filmed by our very own Dr. Dirango Wachanga that was shared with us today. Thank you, Dr. Carol Boyce Davis, for your beautiful historical archaeological intervention and reminder of the importance of crossing colonial borders in our sister's life. I was deeply moved by the article you shared, in which I could see that our sister was pregnant with my dear sister, Jerry Koi. Thank you for that amazing gem. Thank you, Dr. West, for reminding us of the laborer that our sister was and the ways in which she challenged us to head on. Thank you for reminding us of the importance of fighting for producing and not procuring class, This is a very important reminder for me personally, as I find myself working in the belly of the beast, as my Uncle Horace mentioned, and I continuously have to remind myself of the many times my mother insisted that my sister and I really participate in exploding silences in whatever spaces we found ourselves, and encouraged us, though, not to limit ourselves, and further, not to shy away from entering these toxic spaces, but rather use them to humanize ourselves and others. Thank you, Dr. Campbell, for your devotion to ensuring that we honor our sister, not just in death, but while she was alive. I am deeply grateful for your vision and leadership during her retirement from Syracuse University, wherein you led a team of us in creating a 3-day conference entitled The Tireless Pursuit to honor her years at Syracuse. We saw scenes of that in Dr. Wachanga's piece this afternoon. Thank you too for reminding us of our sister's insistence to not only naming the monster, in her case, multiple myeloma, but also speaking about the importance of health, wellness, and what it is to be human and to live in dignity. Thank you, Dr. Goro, for reminding us of the importance of language and how this was crucial to our sister, who insisted that the language used at home was always Gikuyu, not because she was raising Kenyan nationalists, but rather to ensure that we did not lose our language, and moreover, that we were able to communicate with our maternal grandmother and other extended grandparents in order to have a deeper understanding of who we were and are. Thank you, Dr. Cooley, for reminding me of my own journey of cultural identity rooted in being African American, Zimbabwean, and of course Kenyan. Thank you for reminding me of the amazing chef that she was, and how I now prepare Pan-African dishes without recipes, just like my mother and yours. Sheko sheko. Thank you, Dr. Effiong, for reminding us of our sister's courageous spirit of activism. Thank you for reminding us of unsung mothers and the urgency with which we must now create songs so that we never forget them. Thank you, Dr. Peterson, for your biographical notes. I struggled a little bit with parts of your contribution, but also deeply recognize how subjective my feedback here is. And so on a positive side, let me say you triggered several memories of discussions that my mother and I had with my sister while she was alive regarding her life. The section regarding the role of Christianity and religion in her life perked up my ears as I remember many discussions in our household regarding this and my own struggles with religion and spirituality. And I will speak to how I see this in my mother in a minute. And now finally, my brother, Dr. Wachanga, thank you for the gift of memorializing our sister and aiding us in remembering her contributions to this world. She often spoke of the importance of remembering and honoring people while they're alive and not waiting for their death. My brother, you walked with our mother for over a decade, documenting her life, and I will never be able to share to you what this means to me and Jerry Koi. Thank you, Muno. Asante sana. Thank you very much. In closing, allow me to please read a short excerpt from a chapter in Dirango's book, Making Life Sing in Pursuit of Utu, which after many months of prodding from my patient brother, I was able to produce. Our mother's personification of Utu, Ubuntu, is both a representation of who she fundamentally is, as well as how she sees the world and her role in it. In her monograph, African Orature and Human Rights, our mother describes the fact that the onion has many layers connected to each other, making the onion whole. When one layer is peeled off, the onion can no longer be considered whole. She links this to the world, beautifully describing the layers of interrelatedness and the coexistence that exists. One layer may be an individual, another a group, the nuclear family, the extended family, or the community in which one lives, the state, province, country, continent, and world. Inject layers such as culture. How is it that she became the first East African woman dean of a university? How is it that she found the courage to live in exile for over a decade? How is it that she became the first and only Black professor in the his or her story of Syracuse University to be awarded the Laura J. and L. Douglas Meredith Professorship for Teaching Excellence? How is it that she has lost so many people in her life, including her youngest daughter, and has not lost faith? Having known my maternal grandparents and also heard numerous stories about them, I presume that she gets her courage and strength from her parents, especially my grandmother. After all, as an old Akan proverb goes, if you're born into a mold, it does not take you long to grow tall. At the same time, I would be remiss if I didn't point out the fact that our mother is a very deeply spiritual soul. She meditates and prays daily and draws strength from the Almighty and all the ancestors who have gone before. This connectedness that she has with the earth, people, and all who have gone before her is what makes her who she is, as an individual who believes in connections with those around her and those she cannot see, who fights injustice of any kind, who is always a positive force in the lives of those she encounters, who brings humanity to every experience she confronts, and in my sister and I's eyes, the most incredible mother that any two children could ever have been so gratified and humbled and indeed lucky to have. Thank you very much.
We've had a wonderful conference, and so my role here, I think you've really concluded our symposium very well. Thanked all our esteemed panelists, each one individually. I just joined my hands with you in thanking them for the amazing work that they have done, for agreeing to come and be part of this journey moving forward, continuing to honor our sister, Professor Mugo. And thank you very much. You've already stepped, you look very close, stepping into her shoes and taking her life and her legacy onwards. And congratulations for the book. We look forward to that. We'll see, we'll look for copies. We have some copies here in our library. And so thank you very much. And in terms of speaking and closing, I wish I could just ask Professor Brown to come, because you saw why we had her in the opening, right? But we are run out of time, and thank you very much for working with us, and thank you very much for the opening remarks. And I would like to thank my colleagues, the Alliance for African Partnerships. We have the English department as well, Jensen, the Gender Center. And finally, this would really not have happened without, this work from staff in the African Studies Center, thank you very much, Mike, and there are others that are not here, but they've worked very hard, and Andy has been communicating with everyone here, and we had Damaris area on, so thank you very much. Maybe we can give them a hand. And so, Professor Boyce Davis, I like your idea. That was the other question to all this work that's here. What are you going to do with it? So, as a geographer, what we try to do in African studies is catalyze, empower, make things possible. But we really leave it in your hands to see what you want to do with this work. And I know that you were talking about some edited book you were already part of, but maybe at dinner you can continue this conversation and continue these communications as we move forward in terms of what you can do with all this work that's already been done and moving forward. And so we'll be excited to support it in any way that we can, so just let us know. I'd like to thank Professor Campbell here as well for bringing this idea to us and for making it possible. And in fact, he not only brought the idea to us, he sketched out a lot of the conceptualization who would be useful to come and all that. And all we did is facilitate it and help you to make it happen. So thank you very much. We are very proud to have joined hands with you and everybody else here to bring to life the life and works of Micere Mugo. So with this said, I would like to thank you all. Some of you will see you at dinner before you leave. I know Mumbi, you gotta go and return tonight, so you're not joining us for dinner. So safe travels back, and please, we'll be in touch and see what we can do to continue your mother's legacy moving forward. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming and for sacrificing your day. And thank you very much, and enjoy the evening.